Why
Yeah,
not?
why not? Let's.
There
There
we
we go.
go. Whoop, I'm going to get over my other monitor here and make sure. There we go. It says we live. Well, we'll see in a
We're
second.
live.
You know how YouTube is. There's always like a 45 seconds. There we go. We're live. So we're live on YouTube. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to Mixing Music Analog. Once again, we are back for another episode number 2 of the Subscriber Studio Spotlight. Say that 3 times fast. And this week we got one of our friends and one of my students and friend, Brian Hall. Brian, how you doing, buddy? Thank you for joining us and sharing your studio with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we have my lovely co-host, David S.J., as everybody knows. And Brian is going to show us his studio tonight. So Brian's got a really unique setup in the way he does certain things. He's got a home studio. We're going to talk to him about his home studio. He's going to try to give us a grand tour with his iPad, and we're going to see some of the cool stuff he does with recording guitars and all kinds of stuff. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and I'll be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions for Brian, if you see something on the desk or something in his rack and you want to ask him something specific, hit your question up there, and I'll be sure to get it on the screen, and I'll get it to Brian, and he'll be able to help us along and answer your question. So does that work for everybody? Yeah, good. All right,
Works,
man.
right?
So Brian, tell us a little bit about tell us where you're from. Tell us a little about your studio. What are you kind of doing over there? Tell us a little bit about what you're doing before you show us everything.
Yeah, so I have a home studio here in Jacksonville, Florida. Started doing this, well, I started home recording back in like high school. It's kind of just expanded. And I still have all my old interfaces, but it's kind of grown into a quite the hobby over the past several years. So I do mainly my own work. I do have one other artist. We actually mixed Rainy Marie.
Oh yeah, remember? Yep. Great singer.
So she's the primary artist I work with out of the home studio. I mainly do all the production work myself, from guitars to using Superior Drummer for drums. I do the bass. I do use some session players if I get a chance to. But it's all primarily based out of my house in this home studio, and it's basically just, as I've gotten better over the years, it's just kind of grown into its own thing.
It became a muddy pit. Once we take a look, everyone will understand what that means. So you start off with
we all know that we all have the same stories. So,
so you start off with something small, and then you're getting better and you're working, and the next thing you know, you buy something to this and something to that. And next thing you know, your whole house is filled up with gear.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think the biggest lesson I learned early, or I didn't realize it until a lot later, and was to really take people's advice on don't buy every plugin.
Yeah.
Well, that.
Yeah. Well, you may want to direct that over at our co-host here, and it isn't me who when you want to talk. I think if there's like a plugin anonymous group, I think we ought to send David S.J. to that group.
No, I have no shame at all. Thank you. None at all.
He's like the head of the plugin anonymous group. Plugins Anonymous.
Yeah, the sad part about it is that I've graduated from plugins to hardware, but I'm still buying plugins too.
Right.
So it's
Yeah. So now he buys every piece of hardware he sees, not just every plugin. So
not every piece of hardware I see. Yeah. It's not that you can't go plug-in crazy with hardware because the space is limited and it's a hell of a lot more expensive. So
that's true. That's true. So Brian, so you have I know, but plugins, but now you've built out and you got hybrid stuff going on there too. We're going to see all the gear that you got piled up in there.
Yep.
That'll be cool. So that's great, man. So yeah, why don't we, cause you got a lot of stuff and we want to get at least a look at most of it, if not all of it. So why don't you see if you can flip your camera around, and Brian's going to give us a tour. We're going to start maybe at your main workstation and we'll talk through the main pieces. What kind of computer are you using first and foremost? What do you, Mac, PC? What do you do?
I'm a PC guy.
Okay, cool.
PC guy.
Everything around.
Yeah.
You should get it. So I'm a PC guy.
Yep.
I actually built this computer myself.
Yep.
I have an IT degree, so like computers is like building home computers and stuff like that is nothing for me.
That's not for you. Okay.
So I basically just So I just basically bought all the parts and pieces and do it all together. It's an i9, 32. It's an i9 8 core, um, like 3.5 gigahertz, 32 gigs of RAM. I probably have at least by now at least 3.5 terabytes of space on there, dedicated drives, split up, and all that kind of stuff. So,
Okay, so let's start with the what's your main audio interface? I see you got an Apogee there, right? A Symphony on the desk?
yeah. So this is the Apogee Symphony desktop.
Okay.
I really like it. I like it a lot. It does really well. It's got 2 outputs on it in terms of like for monitor mixes and stuff like that. It's really all I need for when I'm in this space. It's got a high power preamp in it. It's got 2 mic pre's in it. But it's got the optical outs, so I can go to the Cranbourne. The 8-at Cranbourne.
Okay,
so
cool.
Eight channels of outboard.
Nice. And then if you pan over a little to your right there, what do you got to the right? See, it looks like a fader port 8 or a fader port 16. What do you got there for dock? Oh, fader port 8.
So this is the fader port 8. So the speakers, that's the fader port 8.
Yep.
And then I got the UC1.
Okay. So how do you like the UC1?
I love the UC1. I use it more than the fader port 8, to be honest.
Really?
The fader port, the fader port 8, literally, like my workflow with the fader port 8 is I throw up the faders, get a little bit of a balance thing going on at first, and then outside of transport controls, I pretty much don't use it for anything else. I do plug-in automation with it a lot, with it because it makes it really easy.
Got it.
But the UC1 is I love it. It's awesome.
But now the UC1, does that still only control just those 2 SSL plugins?
Yes,
it does.
It's just the 2, and that's pretty much my only. That's my channel strip now. That's pretty much my go. That's my go-to. I use others. I mean, I'm so used to using this thing now. It's pretty much my go-to. If I'm looking for a different vibe, I may try an Eve or something else. But it's almost kind of like if I'm going to stick to something, I'm just going to become a master at it and just stick with it.
Yeah, I used that a little bit in my studio for a month or so, and it was kind of cool. I did use it, and I was really impressed with the build quality. And if you're into those SSL plugins, it's really nice. I mean, it's a really good piece of gear. And so what do you got next to that? You got, what's that look like? A Machina? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's the Native Instruments Machine.
Yep.
So I use that. I basically use that for finger drumming, and I figured out, and as I told you before, I figured out how I can hook up a Roland kick pad to it, so I can finger drum and use an actual kick pad with my actual foot, so it actually feels like I'm playing a real drum set.
Yeah, that's actually pretty brilliant. I never thought of that. That's actually a great idea when you think about it.
It frees up the pads, and if you're already a drummer, it helps out a lot, or at least basic drums. So, speakers, I have the A7Xs I have the Adam Audio A7Xs.
Yep.
I do have their sub back there as well. It's the I think it's MK12 or 10. It's either 10 or 12 inch sub back there. So I love them. I do use. I'm ping ponging between using the SonarWorks. I don't know whether or not I like using SonarWorks just yet. My room's already super treated, so it's weird for me right now. I'm in that transition of whether or not I like it or not.
So can you, is there a way to show like what's in front of your speakers or like what's on that front wall? Can you show us the treatment? Like, are you up against the wall or how is that kind of?
So yeah, I'll go ahead and get up. So.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah.
Treatment.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So my treatment, I'll just start to the back corner.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Take us around the acoustic treatment.
So I have movable gobos for right behind me, right? For reflections. I got gobos on, then I got wall treatment here. I got a window right there, so I got a movable gobo by the window to make sure, limit reflections from the window. Bass trap right there. That's a triangle bass trap. And then even that guitar one is also treatment right there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I have.
Treated.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's literally almost every inch of this place has some form of like it's like 6-inch treatment, and then all the way back to the back. I
So
mean,
Okay.
if you
I
were
will tell
standing
you this.
if you were standing at the back of the room and pointed towards your computer, can you do that so we can kind of see a full shot? Oh, I see
Oh,
the cloud too.
you
You
got
got a cloud.
clouds too.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I got clouds. One right in front of me, one right over the desk and the speakers. I will tell you, the clouds made the biggest difference of all in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the whole room setup.
That is a
They're
very
trying
tight
to,
space you're in.
Yeah. How big is the room that you're in there, Brian?
about 10 by 11.
Okay, so it's the size of a bedroom. So it is
Yeah.
it is a
That's
bedroom studio. So
Yeah,
again,
and that's a small bedroom too.
yeah. So if you stand at the back of the room and point your camera towards your computer, so we can just get a look see like the full setup. Can you do that? Is there enough room to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, actually,
I thought it was.
this. Sorry if I'm moving a little too.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, good. Okay, good. All right, just hold it there for a minute. Okay, so you got treatment in the corners, first reflection, desk there. Okay, yeah, couple of monitors. Yeah, that's and how tall, how high are the ceilings? I know you got the cloud. What is it, like 10-foot, 9-foot ceilings, something like that?
I want to say, yeah, I want to say these are 10-foot ceilings.
Okay, cool.
So,
All right, cool. So now you got
Well, that room is basically a cube then, with the
Like a
10-foot ceiling.
square.
Yeah, that room's basically a cube. By the way, I really I dig the just the old school executive desk for your studio desk, man. That's nice.
so story about that is my so the story behind that, there's a glare with the windows. So the story behind the desk is actually it was my dad's, and so that was his desk. And then when he passed, I pretty much inherited it, and it's big enough for everything I have. And I was like, I'll just use it.
Yeah, I mean, it works.
Yeah.
Why buy a studio desk? So now what about the rack? You have a rack right towards the right-hand side of that desk, right? With your guitar amp, and you got some 500 series stuff that you've been recently, I know that's a fairly recent purchase for you, right? Some of that 500 gear?
So the 500 gear, yeah. So let me go ahead and
Yeah, so let's walk through the rack and get into all the hardware that you have.
So yeah, so this is the bulk of the hardware. It's to start top to bottom. Furman power conditioner, standard stuff there. So I got the CRAN board, the 8-8 or whatever it's so I got 8 channels of 8-at. Left to right, I got 2 Burl audio preamps, the B1Ds that are blinking.
Yep.
Amazing preamps. Then I have the B1 right next to that, and on channel 3, the B1 is cleaner. I use all 3, but the B1Ds are my primary. The B1Ds are great to run like stereo stuff through, but if you actually do the analysis, they just got more meat on the bone as a preamp. And then channel 4, I have the Cush Audio. Was that the Electra EQ?
Okay.
I want to get some I do want to get some APIs or some EVQs in here too. Even though channel 5 and 6 right next to the Cush Audio, those are actually running the 2 tweakers right below.
Right.
So 5 and 6 is
yeah.
actually.
You got the Cush tweakers. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are the Cush tweakers. Amazing compressor. So those are going in 5 and 6.
Yeah. Now, tell me a little bit. I don't know much about their stuff. I know they make good stuff, and I've heard about their stuff, Cush Audio, and they actually make some good plugins too. But what is it? So that's what is it? Just a stereo compressor? Is it a mono compressor? What is that? That tweaker?
So yeah, I'm trying to get a good angle for you.
That's pretty good.
So,
it's doing fine, Brian.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
All right, so basically they're individual. So I bought 2 just so I can run stereo on them. You can link them, right? So what I really like about them, you can drive it here, so you can actually pull out. You can actually get like distortion out of it. You got a mix knob here for parallel
Mm-hmm.
compression if you want. You got your
Mm-hmm.
output for adjusting your gain, on off, your threshold. Contour is I equate the contour. It's a tilt shelf.
Right.
So being
Yeah.
being a tilt shelf, I think of it as kind of like an API with the loud feature, kind of like how the API works. So you really kind of tweak low to high and how it reacts.
Mm-hmm.
These are custom presets like filters, like 60 hertz, 300 hertz. Awesome. I love this how gain reduction in the center, input and output, so you can actually make sure things are level matched. So
Mm-hmm.
you can actually compare when you turn things on and off. You got your attack, release. You can do a fast release or a dual release with like you know what dual release is. So you can do a fast release, a single stage release, or a dual release, and then you got this was your ratio and your curve.
So what kind of compressor is it? Is it a VCA, a FET? What is it? What kind of compressor is it? Do you know?
It's a VCA, but it's
VCA. Okay.
It can be the VCA. It can be extremely fast or extremely slow. So,
Cool. Yeah, I've never heard those, but I've heard some good things about. I've heard people talk about this thing before, and I've never used one. It's interesting.
It sounds like they got a little bit in common with like the distressor too, you know?
It's really cool. Like I love it. I pretty much throw it on like all the important tracks. It's great on a drum bus. Amazing on a snare, especially if you throw up the drive and get some drive and grit into it. It's the claim on this thing is you can. It's like the Swiss Army knife to get it to like sound or react like an LA two-way, but also get it to sound or react like a FET or something like that. And I actually think the claims are pretty spot on.
So how do you, with that in your, so how do you use that? Do you just, because you have limited hardware and limited IOs, so what do? Do you just park those on like those tweakers? Do you just park them on a drum bus and you say, I'm just running my drums in and out and printing it back in? Like how do you use that in conjunction with your DAW? What are you using? What software do you use DAW wise?
So I use Studio One.
Okay.
For my DAW.
Okay. So do you use Pipeline? Is that how you're doing it?
So yeah, I'm using Pipeline, and then I'm also using. I will actually bounce everything down, so I don't try to limit it. So I'll actually bounce the tracks down. And Studio One has a great recall feature. So like even if it's printed, you can back up on it if it's not right. So
okay, so you're printing your
tracks. That's what I mainly use it for.
So you're processing your tracks back in prior to mixing, and then you're mixing in when you do the rest of your mix.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and bounce everything back down, get everything like if I like it. But if something messes up down the road, I'll take my notes and I'll just go back and redo it again.
Got it. Okay, cool. Okay, so those are the tweakers. What? Anything else in that rack? Any other? Hardware in there?
Is let me flip.
Yep, go ahead, go flip it.
Back camera. There we go. So I do got somewhat of a patch bay back there. Pretty much all I did with that is you had the ins and outs on the back of the Cranborn. So I just basically use this patch bay as just to bring it to the front. That's really all I did that for, which is very handy for just plugging in mics. But I'll also like when I reamp or send if I reamp out to the garage setup for guitars, yep. I'll run those outs through like channel 7 and 8 to reamp out to the garage. That's very handy.
Cool. So what else you got in that rack? Anything else in that particular rack before we move on?
That's actually so that's it. I got a high tone amp. It's basically like a high watt, and then I also use the toots. Oh, it moved. the two notes right there. So if I want to use like a speaker cab emulation at the same time,
Right.
that's very handy. So a lot of times I'll do the DI. I'll use a DI box to do DI in, but I'll also track through this. And if I don't like it, I'll reamp out to the garage.
Got it. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about guitars. So the way you record guitars is a couple of different ways, right? Show us what do you do for recording live guitars through like your high watt? So you either patch into the two notes and you'll use a speaker load, or what else do you do? What do you got over there?
Yep. So I'll go through basically the high watt. I'll use the two notes, but I'll also use like the Countryman DI right here. I'll take the DI feed from the guitar just as a backup. But a lot of times what I'll do is I'll actually if I'm either reamping or recording live guitars, I'll use the SGI series right here. That allows me to convert to a balance signal. So now I can run 50 feet of guitar signal to the garage. I can play in the comfort of my own home in the air conditioning while the amp is in the garage. Like
yes. So yes, you now, is there a way without screwing you up there? Is there a way for you to bring that into a camera into the garage and show us how you record? Because you have like a big ISO cabinet. Right? Can you do that?
Oh yeah, I can do that. I'll just as a side note, this Sound Deluxe U95 mic and the Chaotic Eye is amazing on vocals. Awesome. But okay, yeah, I'll take you to the garage right now.
So guys, if you have any questions for Brian in the chat, just go ahead and lay them in there, and we'll keep an eye on it as he's taking us through his laundry room.
Yeah.
So this
we're getting
cool.
to tour of the house now.
Well, I mean, but this is what it is in a home studio, man. You got to make do with what you got, and so he's making do with what he has. That's for sure. Yeah. All right, there it is. Yeah, he's got a custom.
Oh yeah. So
show us what you got out here.
Yeah. So I'll go from like my right to left. So that's a 70s Fender Pro Reverb right there.
Nice.
My ridiculous pedal board. So this is the isolation cabinet. So this is the isolation cabinet. I got it from Bad Axe Cabs. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure if he's still in business or not. But I learned about this from Creative Sound Labs. If you've seen his YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. Like it's basically all this is like a roadie rig that this guy sound insulated everything. You can see my high tone cabinet. He ran like mics clips in here. There's and I'll back it up. I'll close it. This thing's absolutely massive.
How much does that thing weigh?
The way it's a lot. So
he's got a fan on there and everything.
This thing and power. I got power on it, so if you want to stick a combo amp in this thing, run it with a fan, so tubes get hot and stuff. So it's if you want to be able to crank an amp to 10, like a 50-watt high watt, crank it to 10, throw it in this thing. You're not going to tick off your neighbors, and it sounds amazing. And it's super dry because you're not getting anything from the garage or the house.
Right. So
this is my mobile rig.
When you're in your studio and you got that thing cranked up, can you hear that cabinet in your studio or no?
I hear a little bit of rumble, but no, not really.
Oh, cool.
If I have the high watt at like 7 or 8, which if a 50-watt high watt is at 7 or 8, that thing will blow your ear out.
Yeah, so, you couldn't even stand in the room with that. I can hear it
a little bit, but not much.
Oh wow, that's great. Okay, so that's a really good isolation.
I mean, when I'm in the garage,
right?
It's amazing. Like when I'm in the garage, it's still hearing safe. So
cool. Okay, what else?
So this is my mobile rig.
Nice.
So this is mobile rig. I got Furman power up top, wireless guitar and wireless monitors, power amp, and then you got the 24R at the bottom. So I use that for drums. I can still use the 24R for running monitor mixes and stuff like that. Got plenty of room there. And then for giggles, sorry, my thing moved. For giggles, I got my old Tascam from high school.
Oh,
wow.
the Porta Studio. Oh, I had that same exact one. Put your camera
What is
back on
that?
that. I had that same. That was my for. Go to the right a little bit. Go to the right a
And
little
what is
bit.
that? What is that? The 414?
Yeah, that's the same exact one I had, man.
Geez.
That was my first. That was my first recording studio. That was it. I had the same exact one.
You're getting all nostalgic now, aren't you?
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, well,
My
that's
second
how.
one-
Yeah, you put your cassettes in there, and it was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, yeah. And then college went to the iPad.
Yeah,
First I
Brian,
did
you better
digital.
move back into the room because we're starting to lose you a little bit.
Yeah, we're starting to lose you a little, so you may want to go back into that room. But I see the FirePod FP10. That's the first PreSonus unit I ever owned. That's how I heard about PreSonus. There was the FP10. I bought it at Guitar Center.
Wow.
Great interface, by the way. I mean, for my first interface, or my first real interface.
That's a good starting place right there.
Yeah,
you know?
that's the FP10. Whoop.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you are.
It was interesting.
Brian.
Yeah, I'm switching
Brian,
the
sit,
camera back around.
just stop. Yeah, sit still for a minute and let everything catch back up. Okay. There you are.
Yeah.
There you are.
Okay.
So do you take that mobile recording rig? Do you
Water
like
going
play?
in the garage gets a little hot.
Yeah. Do you play live gigs, or is that mobile rig just to go record like real drums and that kind of thing, or do you actually go out in a band and play, or no?
It's all the above, actually.
Oh, really? You gotta move back over into the frame. You're completely out of frame, man. Move back in front of the camera. There you go. Nice, perfect. So the mobile rig, you actually play live shows, or is that just to record bands?
Yeah.
Or
So all the above. So I mean, the 24 hours is so flexible in terms of live shows and recording. It's kind of like, why not?
right.
So, and considering that's like a 12U rack, it allows you to do everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there any other new pieces of gear in your immediate future that you're thinking about getting to add to the studio, or what are you doing there?
I would like to get like a mix bus processor.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried the Cush Audios on the mix bus and I'm not really happy with them. I was thinking maybe like either like maybe a Neve or Neve clone, maybe either the diode bridge or getting a real VCA like the SSL or something like that in my future. But I'm looking at all the videos and we'll kind of see what happens. I like to get different gear for some reason. Maybe I'm a little odd, but you have the staples, but it's kind of like why I got the Cush Audios. It's a little different.
Yeah, it's not everybody has that, so it is that is kind of cool. You get some eclectic stuff, and it gives you a little bit different sounds. You don't sound like everybody, like you don't sound like this. You get your own sound going. So what made you move? Because you weren't always hybrid. You were in the box for a long time. So what made you start now adding hardware stuff? What got you into that? As far as you said, now I'm going to start adding pieces of gear as opposed to just doing the plug-in thing.
Yeah, so it was kind of one of those things where financially I could do it, and I started out. My first piece of gear really was the Cranbourne with the Burl Audio Pre's, just to try to catch something better at the source and just get like a really good mic pre. That's where I started, and then I got a decent sized commission check back in some time ago from my man. It allowed me to get the Cush Audio stuff. I said, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and take a dive. I bought all the Cush Audio stuff at the same time.
So how much are one of those tweaker units? What do those things go for?
like $1,400,
That's
14,
not bad.
$1,500. You can catch them on sale. Sometimes you can catch them on sale.
Yeah, that's
the
not
EQ's
bad at all.
Yeah, that's like the price
EQ's
of a
only like
distressor.
500.
Oh, the 500 units are only like $500 or so.
Yeah, like the EQ's like 550. The Clariphonics, like I think also like 550 or something like that.
Right. Now the Clariphonic, don't they make that in a stereo unit as well? Isn't that a? Yeah, don't they make that in a stereo unit? Because the 500 is a mono unit, right?
The 500 is a mono unit. The stereo unit also does. It can also do subtractive as well. The mono unit doesn't. The stereo unit's got a couple, bells and whistles. And it can do mid side and stereo. That thing's like $1,700 or $1,800 though.
Right.
And I think it's got all Class A in it as well.
Right. Yeah, I think they make a plug-in of that, don't they? That's where I think I first heard about them was the Clariphonic. If I remember right, it's been a long time, but I think they make a plug-in of that unit. Kush does.
Yeah, you actually
they
did
do.
a video on it, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think I might have. I think I might have done a video on that 5 or 6 years ago. I remember it. Yeah, and I remember liking it. It's like a master bus processor. And then I learned that they made they make a hardware unit of it as well.
Yeah.
I was thinking about getting one of those, but then I was like, the plug-in actually works really good for for just adding clarity. So I was like, well, I'll just probably just if I'm going to spend money on something, I'll probably just more on like a master bus processor or something like that.
Right. Yeah, no, I'll have to check that. I'd love to check out that tweaker thing though, because I've heard a few people tell me that thing's really good. Pardon me.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like a distressor, like the same kind of like family as a distressor. So, they've got them up for 1,500. So
if you go to the Kush website and you download the manual, like the manual, they have a preset manual that will actually like show you if you want it to sound like an API, here's the settings you want. If you want it to sound like an LA2A, here's the settings you want. If you want it to sound like a distressor, if you want it to make it sound like a dynamite, here's what you want. Like the claim is it can pretty much mimic any competitors out there.
Right. Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm going to check them out at one point because I keep hearing about them and I've just never sat in a room with one, but I'd love to. Does Sweetwater carry those, Dave?
I don't know. Let me take a look. Are you talking plug-in or hardware?
No, the hardware. Not anymore, Brian. Where did you buy yours? Like online from like used or something?
So Vintage King and Sweetwater used to carry them, and now everything's direct only.
Oh, really? Direct? Okay.
If you it's direct. From what I've seen, is direct only because he used to distribute everything. But if you're cool with it, if you can't get one directly from Kush, I can loan you mine if you're cool with it.
Oh no, that's cool. No, I would get one from Kush. I would just buy one from him, if I was going to do that. But yeah, I'm just curious to see. How they make, because like Dave said, they sound similar to a distressor. In that, just functionality wise, and it could sound like an LE2A, it could sound like a FET, but it is a VCA, and it may have some of that same functionality. That's pretty cool. Just be interesting just to hear what's different about them, because all this hardware has different sounds to it. They all do. These hardware. If you think the plugins sound different between one and the other, the hardware really sounds different from one piece of hardware to another. They really do. And so that's always something I find interesting.
I would say it's pretty crazy that the drive knob on this thing, which is, you would think it's like an input gain or something like that, but it's actually also kind of like a saturation circuit as well. So like when you can turn that up and then turn down the output, like you get like, it's almost like throwing a distortion pedal on, or some kind of distortion saturation on the compressor at the same time. It's pretty crazy what you can do with this thing.
That's cool. Wow. So what else? Do you have anything else you want to tell us about in that studio? Any other gear we haven't seen, or any other? I saw you got what keyboard is that? Is that Native Instruments, the Contact? You have like a MIDI, like a big keyboard or a piano or something in there, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. 1 second. Yep. So yeah, so this is the S88 piano.
Oh, Native Instruments.
88 key. I also have the 61 key. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I also have the 61. Yeah, I have both. The 61 key. When I travel for work, I bring the 61 key with me. When I'm at home, I use the S88. The only real difference outside of like the key size is the S88. The S88 has weighted keys, where the other ones are more are not. That's S61. It throws me off because they're not, because it's just two different styles.
Right.
Yeah.
So the S88 is a fully weighted key. Yeah, that's great if you're a piano player to have the, you want the real feel of weighted keys. That's kind of cool. What else you got? Is that all you got in there? I mean, is that all? You got a ton of stuff in there.
Yeah, is that all? Holy shit,
what kind of guitars do you play? 'Cause you're a guitar player. What do you play?
So I got here, I'll show you. So up there is, right behind me is, I bought this in 1996. It's a Les Paul Gem. I'm a big fan of P90s. For some reason, I just love the sound of the P90s. I have right over here. Let me see if I can see that. I don't know. Can you see the SG? Same thing?
Yep.
It's a P90 SG right there. As you can see, I'm a P90 nut. And then up here, that's just a Strat. That's my Franken Strat. I pretty much just have, if you look up, I have two different pick guards. So I basically, depending on what style of pickup I'm going for, I just hot swap them.
Oh, really?
So take
wow.
out the
Okay.
strings and swap.
That's a cool idea.
Well, what I have. So what I have in there right now are Seymour Duncan humbuckers. They're like like slim humbuckers. They look like Strat coils. So there's humbuckers in there now, and then I got the other pickups on the other pickguard are like the Texas Strat ones. So they're standard Strat pickups.
Yeah. That's cool. So do you have like is there any like websites, or like, what do you have, like a music production website or anything that you want to promote or tell people about to go check out as far as where your music is or your production is? Because I know you write and play and you work with other artists and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So right now, I personally don't have a website. It's going to be Moose Jaw Studios. That's the name of the business right now. Website's not up yet. The only other artist that I've worked with is Rainey, and her website's Rainey Marine Music. But outside of that, I'm just now getting this thing going. Based on all the investments, it wasn't until maybe the past 5 or 6 months where I felt comfortable that maybe I could start marketing something, or possibly dabbling something like this. I didn't want to kind of go into it half-hearted and produce that and not be worthy of a client. And so it wasn't until recently until I got more comfortable now.
Right. So you're just you're getting going now. You got the investment, you got the studio built. Now you're starting to put your stuff out there, and you're working with her and getting some music out there. That's really cool, man. That's really cool. So does anybody?
Well, I know that girl can flat out sing. So that girl's a great singer.
Yeah, she is. She's a good singer. So does anybody in the chat have anything for Brian before we let him go? Do we have any questions about anything that he has in that studio? Don't ask us after he hangs up, because we can't help you. So if you have any questions about that stuff, I think the Cush Audio stuff's really good. I don't know much about the Cran Audio 500 rack, but I know it's really good. Does that one also have the little patch bay on the front, Brian, or no? On that particular 500 rack?
No. You're thinking of Black Lion that has the patch bay.
Oh yeah, Black Lion. Right. They have like a little mini
Mhm.
patch bay on a 500 chassis, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it's a nice approach, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. The cool thing about the Cranborn Audio, this ADAT one, is that you have all the 500 series racks, but they have an insert on. They have an insert on every on all 8 channels. So you can have your 500 series rack gear, run that one channel to a compressor as an insert, and then run that back out. So you're not using more channels.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty slick.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Jimmy says he has stacked Strat humbucker. Oh, the stacked Strat humbuckers. He likes
Yeah,
single
I
coil
love-
guitars.
Yeah. He loves single coils guitars, but live sometimes those are an adventure. Yeah, single coils
Yeah.
are, especially live. If you got a really busy stage, those single coils can get really noisy. The only thing a lot of people, you know, like gig out on the stacked single coils because they don't have the same vibe as a true single coil.
Mm.
Yeah, I've never been
So
a
what they're
single
doing-
coil guy myself, but that's just me.
Mhm.
I've tried. You know, I love guys that can play them. You know, like Texas blues and stuff. And
Mhm.
every time I've bought one, and I've had many Strats, and I've had some really high end Strats with really great pickups in my hands, it just doesn't sound good, man. But humbuckers. I'm like you. I'm a Les Paul guy, a PRS guy, and I just like big fat humbuckers. But I envy people that can make a Strat and a single coil sound good. I just can't. It's just not my thing, man. I've tried so many times.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing.
I get it. No, I mean, like
That's why
I have like all the above. The only thing I don't have are P90s right now. But yeah, like I have single coils, humbuckers, and you know I can't make any of them sound good, so I don't really worry about it.
So you just have all of them just to have them.
Well, yeah, it's the same as this.
right. Right.
What a lot of the, like Seymour Duncan and some of the other places, they'll take if say P90s, they'll reverse wind, say like the neck up pickup, so it cancels the hum if you use both pickups at the same time, and they'll do the same thing for the center. If on a single coil, they'll take the center and they'll reverse wind that one, and they'll make sure that if you use two pickups at once, it cancels the hum.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some people say it kind of kills the sound, but I don't know. I just like my P90s.
Yeah, P90s are good too. I like P90. I don't have a P90 guitar, but I do like those. I would buy that before single coils again if it was me. P90's got a cool, it's like kind of halfway there. It's a little bit kind of like a single coil, but not as fat as a humbucker, which is kind of nice, you know?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really, really cool. Well, man, you got a great studio there, dude. You really do. I know you've been building it up over the last year and a half because I know about all the gear that you've been buying over the last year or so. And that's really cool that you're kind of expanding and that you're starting to branch out and trying to get some business. And, you know, I think you'll do just fine. You know, your productions are good and you just got to keep doing it, you know, and get better.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's been fun. It's been a learning curve. It's had its challenges. But I would say like the one thing I learned night and day was really, it was kind of like the light bulbs when I first got the room treated. You could hear, like the tree. You could you could hear the flaws. You can hear what's going on.
That's right.
Like I would, if I had to make a recommendation to anybody starting out, instead of buying plugins, invest in treatment.
Yeah, I've been saying that for years. It's really the most important. It's the least sexy thing to buy, and it's the most important thing, especially if you're in a room like you're in. You're in like a 10 by 12 room. You're in like a small bedroom cube. That is the worst setup to mix in by itself without treating the hell out of it. So that's a smart thing to do. Like you said, you'll if you don't treat that room, you'll spend your whole life trying to get a mix to translate in there outside of that studio. So no, you got a lot of good treatment in there. You need tons of treatment in a room that small.
Yeah, I went to Gig Acoustics or GIK Acoustics, and I drew I gave them floor plans of the room, told them everything it was, and they gave me a quote. Like they gave me a low, mid, and high end quote, Be like, this is depending on your budget. Here's low, mid, high in terms of cost. And I made my decision and kind of went from that and never looked back.
Yeah, that's great, man. No, you did all the right stuff. I mean, you got to start. You can't produce and mix music in a room where you don't know what's coming out of the speakers is real, and it's not real if you don't have the room treated. It's that simple. So yeah, no, that's great advice. That's awesome advice. So, well, I do appreciate you coming on and showing us your studio, dude. We had a lot of fun looking at it. You got a really cool setup there, man. You really do. I love the guitar thing in that cabinet in the garage is killer, man. That's I wish I had one of those. When I was recording guitars at one time.
Yeah.
That thing, getting that thing shipped here was, I had to get it shipped to my storage locker just because it came in on a big pallet.
Oh yeah, I bet.
It was it was a nightmare getting in here, but it was to be able to literally take a 50-watt high watt and be able to crank that thing to 10 without killing neighbors or blowing up your house, that thing's a lifesaver.
Yeah, I bet. Well, man, thank you so much again. For if anyone got any questions, hit us up now because we're going to end the stream here in a minute. So thank Brian again for showing us his studio. And if you guys have any questions at all too, you can also leave on the replay. If you're watching this on the replay, you can leave questions in the chat below, in the comment section below, and we'll make sure we get the answers for you, or Brian will get in there and respond to the comments. If you have any questions about the gear or anything in his studio, I'm sure he'd be happy to provide some information. And yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you checking it out and telling us about your studio, dude.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for all your work, and thank you for what you're doing with mixing it easy and mixing music analog.
Thanks, man. No problem. All right, man. Well, thank you everyone again for joining us on another episode of Subscriber Studio Spotlight. Did I say that right? Yeah, Subscriber Studio Spotlight.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough. And stay tuned to the channel because we'll have some other studios coming up in the very near future. So we'll sign off now. Take care, everybody, and we will see you soon.